What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. When is this thing coming out? So, when it first dropped, Part 2, Rebirth, I made a video, and we talked about, and my prediction at the time was 4 years, right? I just figured you would repeat what you did with Remake to Rebirth, and you just do it again. Well, since then, it seems like 3 to 4 years, right? The range has expanded, and it does make a lot of sense to come out in 2027. That's the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, the original. Now, I'm a big anniversary guy. I'm a big numbers guy. I feel like they kind of are too. Like, they care, and I don't know, like, would that be an internal goal where they really try to make it? But also, you just look at what has happened, and it's what we're about to read here as well. When you look at the last 4 years between Remake and Rebirth, Intermission, the Yuffie DLC, right? That threw in an extra year. So in all reality, if you take that 4 years and you say, okay, well, you just do it again, well, technically, it only took them 3 years to make Rebirth. So let's read this little snippet that kind of says what I was just saying here. Comes from Audrey, who has just done a phenomenal job with translations and doing the Ultimania book in English. And so she writes, FF7 Remake Part 3 main story has already been completed, and Nomura thinks they will perhaps start voice recording in the near future. He remarks that Katase proposed an idea to him about something very important to include, even though it wasn't in the original game, and Nomura is pondering how to deliver. He thinks it will surely make people happy if they can do it well. Katase hopes to deliver an amazing product for Part 3 without having to sacrifice quality over time. He says the reason why 7 Rebirth was such an efficient development period was because they retained the same staff as the previous installment, and Part 3 will also have the same team. He also mentions that 7 Rebirth was actually done within 3 years, since about 1 year was developing the DLC, and he hopes to be able to stick with that schedule for Part 3 too. So, kind of just taking that and running with it, right? They're a well-oiled machine. Like, you can have your gripes, and people have, and I think that's totally fine, right? With the way they're telling the story and the way that they're, including things and taking things out and all that jazz. Totally cool, all the different opinions there. But in terms of just the structure at that team and retaining the talent and just turning around and doing it again, right, for the next game, they are about as like clockwork as it comes. So the fact that, they've already said additional things plus what we just read here, right? Like, we know basically the main scenario is, at this point, it's probably done. A few months ago, it was almost done, so you imagine, they finished it within the last month or so. They've talked in the past about how they're at a similar point right now that they were when Remake came out, but for Rebirth, right? So it seems like they're truly directly in line with what they've done before. Now, the only thing, in my opinion, that could make it not 3 years would be a DLC. And would you do like a Vincent thing, or, what would you even, I guess, do if you wanted to do something, right? I don't know if there's that many options. And at this point, I almost feel like the way they talk to, if you watch the behind the scenes interviews, and mainly I would say with Nomura, right? Like, the way they talk, it's almost like no, it's not even almost like they do. They want it to be over. I think they knew what this journey would entail. They knew how many years it would take, but they look tired, they seem tired, and they act tired. And that's not like a massive attack. I think they've just been very open in almost a playful way with that, right? I think they want this thing done. So to delay it further to do DLC, maybe it would help sales of Rebirth, but also maybe it wouldn't matter at all. You know what I mean? So I really think that's the only thing that would get in this game's way to get us Part 3, later or earlier. So hearing all this stuff now, and especially just with that little insight, right, that, okay, it was 4 years, but if you think about it too, it was 4 years, and it was started in the midst of 2020. Remake comes out, and for probably the first good year, they were still making this game in just really not ideal conditions, right? Of probably the teams all split up and all of this stuff that we had to do, back 4 years ago. So, that might even speed things up as well, right? So the fact that you don't have to do DLC and everybody's together, you've again retained talent, you've again kind of perfected, the kind of the system, like how things need to get done. I really feel like 3 years, maybe around like this exact time, not even like fall 2027. I'm thinking like February, March, April 2027. So that would be great. I think that would be awesome. It would make the 30th anniversary. We'd be able to get all the answers to our questions a year earlier than at least I expected, a month or so ago. So I'd be all for that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.